World Health Organization has issued new misleading guidelines promoting abortion in an effort to, quote, help deliver life-saving care. In a pro-abortion push, this United Nations agency raises alarmist claims that limits on abortion could lead to unsafe abortions. A representative for the United Nations Health Agency called abortions essential, simple, and safe, regardless of the fact that the procedure kills babies. The issued guidelines failed to include support and resources for mothers in an unplanned pregnancy. And joining us now via Zoom is Obianuju Ekeocha, founder and president of Culture of Life Africa. She is a Nigerian biomedical scientist based in the United Kingdom and a prominent pro-life advocate. Obianuju, thanks for joining us today. Could you speak to us about these new guidelines? Are they a surprise to you?
Actually, this is unprecedented. In a way, we've known for many years now that the World Health Organization has been very well aligned with pro-abortion countries in the West, but never have we seen this kind of push, Prudence. A day after the International Women's Day on the 9th of March, they released this document. And yes and no, I am surprised. And in a way, I'm not surprised because they've only just taken a step further into the most, I'd say, audacious push for abortion, asking countries to remove all forms of restrictions against abortion, including things like mandatory waiting periods. And as you said, this document absolutely has no offer whatsoever or no suggestions whatsoever in order to help women in crisis pregnancy situations that they don't want.
Right. And the World Health Organization literally has a unit dedicated to unsafe abortions. And its head spokesperson recently said that women and girls need accurate family planning information in order to avoid unsafe abortions. What are your thoughts on this? What do they mean by accurate?
Yeah, so they've been playing with language for some time now, and we all know that anybody who works in the pro-life movement would know exactly how the pro-abortion movement seizes language and would use it to confuse people. The World Health Organization has come into that business, talking about accurate and evidence-based research. They are coming up with this document and saying that it's research from different countries, but without even putting into account the cultures and customs and values of people in these various countries. Some of their figures as well are quite questionable. They are extrapolating numbers from countries where abortion is not legal and so no record is being kept. So they're coming up with these very, I'd say, bloated numbers. And based on that, they are trying to force through policy. And for the first time ever, really, we're seeing so much money being officially now put by the World Health Organization to this issue of abortion, because this time around, unlike before, they're actually joining up with several organizations, including the World Bank, and they're asking for investments in abortion, in abortion workers and abortion services. This is unprecedented.
And these guidelines cite that most deaths caused by abortion occur in lower income continents like Africa and Asia. What can you tell us about this? You and I both know abortion causes at least one death in every place that it occurs. Isn't that right?
Yeah, of course. But when they're talking about the death in abortion, they refuse to acknowledge the death of the unborn child, the death of the preborn child that is always killed in every country, whether it's developed or undeveloped country. Abortion always causes death, whether it's done legally, whether it is done illegally. But this time around, as they are pushing it, it's going to even cause more damage, more danger in countries where women actually have no recourse or they don't have easy access to healthcare, the healthcare industry. As we know, abortion comes with its own several complications. And how are we going to manage that in developing countries when these international organizations are forcing these kinds of principles and values on us?
And how does your organization specifically, Culture of Life Africa, help women in unexpected pregnancies? How are you influencing the culture?
At the moment, we're only limited to just doing research and studying the documents that are coming out, the statistics, the numbers. Because on the African continent, it's not actually easy, or rather it's easier said than done to be there and help the women. But this can be done through several organizations. This can be done through several networks, like the Catholic Church that does a lot of things through religious congregations. Africa is a huge continent of 1 billion people. So it's kind of hard for one single organization to do anything in particular, to be there in crisis pregnancy situations. So we are appealing to people to kind of think about Africa in such a way that this is an area where this kind of intervention is needed. We do need a lot of help for women, especially in situations like crisis pregnancy situations. We don't need abortion, this kind of abortion effort that the World Health Organization is making. Women need interventions and help, real help in crisis pregnancy situations.
Yes, I could not agree with you more. Obianuju Ekeocha of Culture of Life Africa, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And heading now to Guatemala, the nation has just been named the Pro-life Capitol of Ibero-America. A first-of-its-kind ceremony marked the occasion, in which the nation's leaders unveiled a pro-life monument in the National Palace of Culture. Guatemalan President Alejandro Giammattei said in a recent speech that in Guatemala, each institution has a clear direction and coordination in respecting life and the protection of the family as the central axis of society. In past years, Planned Parenthood has been prohibited from the country, as well as an initiative called Women on Waves, whose members intended to pick up women on ships and take them into international waters to perform abortions, quote unquote, legally. And joining us now for more on Guatemala is Valerie Huber, founder and president of the Institute for Women's Health. Valerie, thanks for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
I want to get started just asking you about sharing with us why Guatemala deserves to be known as the pro-life capital of this particular region. What sets them apart in terms of their policy?
Well, I'm so glad you're highlighting Guatemala and what happened there. I just returned this weekend from Guatemala.
Oh, wonderful.
And, I think that though Guatemala is a small country of, I believe, about 17 million people, they can serve as a model to the world, particularly in Latin America, but beyond that. So there are two specific things that Guatemala did, setting itself apart. The first was they created a policy on the promotion of life and family that was adopted last year. And actually, President Giammattei rolled it out on a Sunday as his showing of his, belief that this was an offering to God.
Yes.
In doing so, it is intended to coordinate a streamlined, seamless policy in the support of life and family throughout every part of government. Now, obviously, it has to be implemented into programs, but this is a first important step, which to my knowledge has not been done in any other country. So it's very important. The second thing is that last October, Guatemala became the most recent member of the Geneva Consensus Declaration Coalition. Yes. And I will say that it was at that point when I was invited to join the president in Guatemala City when he signed the declaration. I saw a head of state that was more courageous than almost any head of state that I have met in terms of his promotion of life and also his warning to countries that any kind of external influence to try to pressure them to change their stance on abortion was undue internal influence in their internal affairs. And I really applauded the president for that.
Yes, courageous indeed. And I'm hoping that you can clear something up for us, Valerie. Guatemala's Viva Party recently reintroduced legislation in that country that could potentially imprison women for up to 10 years if they were to commit an abortion. Now, I understand President Giammattei opposes the legislation, but outlets like the New York Times are claiming that it's about to be the law of the land. Can you clear things up for us? What's going on here?
Yes, so I was in Guatemala when this was all taking place, and it was fascinating. I believe that members of the Guatemalan Congress had the right intent, and that was to show their protection for life. Right. However, what emanated from Congress was not the right way to do that. And I actually, as soon as I saw the legislation, I began praying that President Giammattei would indicate he would veto the bill. But there's another part to that story too, and that is the president of Congress in Guatemala, who is a courageous pro-life advocate as well, concurred with the president that this bill was dead.
I see.
So in both of them doing that, that means there is a new opportunity for their Congress to get it right.
I wanted to shift gears to Hungary for the end of our discussion. I understand that Katalin Novak was just elected president of Hungary, and she's worked closely with Prime Minister Viktor Orban, who is known to be very pro-life. What does this mean for Hungary and the future of pro-life policies in their nation?
Well, I'm just so pleased that Katalin Novak became the first female president of Hungary. She formerly served as Minister of Families, so all the family-friendly policies that, again, are setting a model for the world in the family space were under the care and direction and wonderful authority of Katalin. So we know that she is the right person for this job. And when I listened to her speech on that day that she was elected, I saw a courageous woman who can serve as another model for leaders around the world, but this time in Europe.
So exciting to see all of this pro-life momentum across the world. Valerie Huber of the Institute for Women's Health, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.